How's it going, everyone? Paul with Adaptable Survival. What we're going to dive into in today's episode is what I consider my essential gear for the outdoors. So I'm just out at one of the filming spots that I go to from time to time. And what I wanted to touch on today's episode was what I consider to be my essential gear for when I'm heading outdoors. Now, if you look back, I want to say maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, I did a video comparing the 10 C's of survival versus the 10 essentials of hiking, where the similarities were, the differences, and kind of my thoughts with that. What we're going to hit on in this one is I'm going to go through the pack I have here today. It's just set up for day hiking. It isn't set up for camping or anything like that. It's just carrying some essential gear that's going to help me if things, go sideways on me out here. If, I run out of water, if the weather turns on me, I have some tools in my bag so I'm not completely stranded while I'm out here. All right, so found a dry spot here. It did rain a little bit earlier today, so some of the ground is wet. But we're going to run through the pack, and you will see some similarities to the 10 C's of survival and the 10 essentials of hiking, since I did used to teach at the Pathfinder School, and I do teach for REI. So let's work our way from this front Sherman pocket all the way into the inside. I don't believe I have anything stored in this front pocket at the moment. But what I could store in here is obviously a map for navigation. What I'm actually going to have in this front pocket are just a few items. Now, these are going to be quick access items that I want to get to quickly. So here is a rain jacket. This is just a North Face Super Light, I want to say. Fly Light, I can't remember the exact name, but just a Gore-Tex jacket. I personally prefer to have a rain jacket in comparison to a poncho, because some of the ponchos I've used have been real hit or miss, eventually getting wet. I want to have complete coverage for my torso. With the pants I'm wearing, I have Duluth Dry on the Fly pants, so they're going to dry quickly, so I'm not too worried about my pants getting wet. This is my water filter. Now, this is something I just came across. Actually, my buddy Tony just told me about it in this last week. But this is the Bach Gold water filter. Now, you're going to look at this and say, hey, that's just a Grail Ultra Press, which really, really similar. It has an opening up top. And let me get this open here. And you pull the filter out just like a Grail. But the difference is the lifespan on this is about 2,500 liters, if I remember correctly. I will have this down in my Amazon store if you want to check it out. I just got this, so I'm not giving any kind of full-time review, but I picked it up because it's $60 compared to 90 for the Grail, and I'm always trying to try out something new. Let me readjust here. My leg's cramping. So that's it for that. And obviously the only other things that I'm carrying in here are things for bugs. It is a little wet in this particular area. There's a marsh probably, I don't know, about 150 meters to my direction, to my left here. If I go through the woods, head out into the field. So having some sort of bug spray to keep some of the annoying bugs at bay. So we hit on this front Sherman pocket. It does detach and fold down. So if I were out here hunting, for instance, this Sherman pocket has a sleeve in the back where I could run my rifle up the back, and I keep these tabs on here because I can run these across and trap that rifle if that's what I were doing. Yeah, attach these back up here. Actually, I'll leave that undone for now. But side pocket, I just have my trusty old titanium water bottle and cup. That's basically it for the outside. In this side pocket, you might have been asking, why don't I just carry the water filter in here? That's where my tripod was. Now, up top here in this front zip pocket is where I keep one part of my communication system. Now, not going to dive into a big long spiel about that, but in addition to my phone, I have my Garmin InReach Explorer. I'm close enough to town where if I walk maybe a half mile to my right, I will hit a country road and be to a relative's house, I don't know, within 20 minutes. So I'm not worried about using something like this. But if I were more in a backcountry situation, I have that option. The other option, which all of us carry every single day, is our cell phone. That also plays into my navigation, because both of these also do have navigation capabilities. In this pocket with the neon pull tabs, I just have my med kit, so that's easy and accessible. I'm not digging through my pack trying to get this. Alternatively, I can wear this around my waist since it is also a fanny pack. I'm not going to dive into that because I already did a video on that. You can go back in the history and check that out. And then the main compartment here, let me pop this open, splay it open before we hit everything one by one. But up in the top here, I just have an extra ridge line. Recently did a video on this one, but I just kept it in this backpack. And then I just have a couple of different pouches in here. This big white thing is some cotton material. So what I can do with this, if I was using my water filter, I can use this as a pre-filter. Since this is 100% cotton, it's going to capture some of that large debris. Can also make char cloth, yada yada yada. This is just a big old zippered pillowcase space in here. Reason I have it all rolled up in this knife inside, this is my buddy Tony Powers Dirtbound Savage. This is one of the very first ones he ever made. I don't have a sheath for this, but if you do have some recommendations, drop those down below. But I wanted to bring that out today, mess around with it a little bit more. And since I don't have a sheath for it yet, I just carry it in this cotton material, kind of killing two birds with one stone. Let me get that sorted back in here. Now, this pocket pouch here, I'm not going to dive into the specifics of what I have in here quite yet. This is going to be a separate video, but I will show you just quickly. This is the 5x8 mesh tarp from Bushcraft Outfitters. This is Volume Outdoors. Can't remember the exact name. I'll throw that across the screen here, but it's a waterproof tarp in and of itself. I have some tent stakes, and then my guy lines, my ridge liner, all in this Volume Outdoors pouch here. This GoRuck pouch here just holds all my camera equipment. Since I am filming, this carries a few odds and ends, batteries, my mic case, a transfer plug-in for my phone, and an extra cap for my lens. Let me readjust and we'll hit this last pouch. So now for this Kifaru Possibles pouch. I believe this one is the medium because it comes with a small, medium, large. I can't remember exactly which one this is, but I bought this secondhand, so I didn't buy it directly from them. When I got it, it had pink pull tabs, and I just cut those off and put my own little mod on here. If y'all want to see a video on how I did this mod, let me know in the comment section down below. But in the main section, number one thing I got in there is a Hidden Woodsman signal panel. So if I am stranded out somewhere where I can't get back to navigation by foot and I have to chill out there for however long, at least I have a signal panel. Or if I'm working and don't want my stuff directly on the ground, I can lay that there. I have, this is a RAV Power battery pack. I believe this is about a 2700 milliamp hour battery bank, so that's going to charge my phone at least 5 times. And then I just have an SOL emergency space blanket. I've spoken to this many times of why I choose to carry these blankets over like an emergency blanket, like the Arcturus or Pathfinder or the Grabber. These are just more compact, and I don't always need a reflective tarp. That Bushcraft Outfitters tarp that I have in there is much smaller, more compact than one of those emergency blankets. So both of these together give me a lot of capabilities. Plus, this also gives me a secondary signal panel. that is it for that main pocket. And then this front pocket here is just kind of like my fire and repair. So I just have some SOL fire tabs, or quick fire, I can't remember the exact name that they give them, but essentially all the same thing. Fire plugs. Have a mini Inferno Scout fire steel, so nothing too spectacular. Has a nice striker. I've moved to using more strikers than the 90-degree spine of my knife, because over time that will jack up your blade and I don't really want to be constantly honing that back in. Have the Exotac rip spool. So not only do I have duct tape, some extra cordage or line, I also have a needle in here. And let me get that in there, hopefully. So I can do some repairs on the fly if I need to. So a lot of capability in a really, really small tool. Then I just have an extra lighter. And that should be it for this pocket. Let me see if this tab says what size this is. Nope, just initials and who sewed it. This other side pocket, I just have a little Silva compass. So nothing too crazy, just enough to give me general azimuth to navigate straight line out of wherever I may be. Signal mirror. So this is just one of the small SOL, what do they call it, the star flash signal mirrors. So it's not glass, but it will reflect all the same. And then I have a night core headlamp. Got a red light on there, as well as your standard white light. This one's really, really compact, and it charges off of USB, so I can just throw an extra cordage in my pack, or an extra charging cord in my pack to charge that if needed off of my RAV Power brick here. So that's just a quick run through of what I have in my pack as my outdoor essentials, or my essential gear for the outdoors. As you can see, you don't need a lot to have a lot of capability. I think that's one thing that gets misconstrued with a lot of survival kits online, is they think you have to have this big grandiose, multifunctional, it's doing a million things for you, when really simple tools can do a lot for you, and they're going to do everything that you need them to very, very well. Now, with that Possibles pouch, have tons of things in there, from navigation, starting fires, signaling, my med pouch to take care of any medical issues that may have arisen to lead me to that situation or that I might run into, as well as some tools to build shelter if I needed to. And the thing with shelters, the reason I have multiple tarps in there, essentially I have the Bushcraft Outfitters mess tarp, that Volume Outdoors. It's a ground sheet, but it can also be used as a tarp. And I have that SOL emergency blanket. That gives me essentially 3 tarps right there for less than the size of an emergency survival blanket, the Grabbers or the Arcturus. So for me, those are the options I choose to carry, because I get more bang for my buck. Plus, they're not going to break down as fast, because I'm not using that SOL space blanket for camping or training or anything like that. I'm using that specifically for an emergency. Now, talking about shelters, one of the things I don't see a lot of people talk about that you should really consider if you are in an emergency situation is preserving the calories you have stored in your body, or that you may have in your pack, stretching those out as far as possible. That is the one thing I am missing out of my day pack today. Had a pretty large lunch, so I wasn't worried about having extra calories. But that's one thing you can add into your survival kit or your emergency kit or your essential gear, because it's going to help you when you're out there performing tasks. As you see, I don't have a saw, so I'm not planning to set up a shelter. That's where having some sort of tarp comes into play, because now all you got to do is build the framework and you can set up a shelter with that tarp, or you can use the tarp and a ridgeline and set up a shelter. If you read Nesbitt's book or the Woodcraft books or any of how the old timers did it, they weren't out there building big sophisticated shelters when they were out camping and recreating. The lesson we can take from that is For survival, you want it to be as simple as possible. Don't waste a lot of calories doing a bunch of unnecessary work. Have the right kind of gear that's going to minimize that caloric expenditure that you experience in those situations, so that you have them to put towards more important things like signaling for rescue, navigating out of wherever you may be at. I can dive into the whole food thing if you want in a future video, so let me know in the comment section down below. As you've seen with the gear that I'm carrying, there's a lot of crossover between the 10 C's of survival, the 10 essentials of hiking. This is my own take on it. The things that I choose to carry when I'm getting ready for a trip always go in my pack. So let me know in the comment section what kind of gear differs from what I'm carrying, or if you're carrying something similar. I look forward to hearing what you add to your kit. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. That gets more eyes on the community that we're building here, helps bring those people into our community so we can grow our knowledge base and learn together and grow together. As always, this has been Paul with Adaptable Survival. Adapt your mind, your body, and your gear.